there everyone, I'm Remy McNeil of Celtic Phoenix Productions. If you're new to the channel, welcome! And if you're a returning viewer, it's good to see you back. Today I'm looking into a particularly controversial subject, the Vic Mignogna lawsuit, which has caused what I see to be a rather caustic rift within the anime community. There's a lot of misinformation being paraded around about this case, and my hope is with this series is to lay down some facts of the case as accurately as possible so people can make well-informed opinions on the matter before rushing to defend one side or the other. Why I have such an interest relates to my background in law. My family is filled to the brim with lawyers, both new and old, and I actually coach mock trial locally at a high school level. This is, of course, ignoring the fact that I am independently a fan of several of the relevant parties in this case on both sides. Now, to be clear, I am not a lawyer. Do not take anything I say to be legal advice. If you need legal advice, please seek out a formally trained and licensed attorney. I will not bail you out of jail. Now, 3 points of disclosure. 1. There are few, if any, sources on this topic that have remained neutral beyond the official court record. I have done what I can to remove the more caustic and controversial aspects of these sources to get at the juicy facts of the case underneath, but sometimes the two are integrally linked. 2. I do have my own opinions on this case, which will be covered at length in the final video of this series. In the spirit of uniting the fandom, I have done my damnedest to detach my personal opinion and give as much deference to each side as possible. One cannot remove their biases, mind you, but one can acknowledge them, and I've had to keep myself in check while writing these scripts to make sure that I did not favor one side or the other. 3. The subject matter on focus today and in later installments is relatively dry, especially in keeping with a neutral voice. There's not going to be much comedy, there's not going to be any, if all, no skits, no silly voices, no nothing. I'm going to try and get right to the heart of things. In fact, I've had to rewrite and re-record this opening twice because it came off as completely disinterested. That's how neutral I had to take things. I had to keep myself very leveled. And I didn't want to bore anyone, at least not from the outset, but just know that if I ever seem tired or bored, it's because there's just a lot of information to peel through. Not that it's not interesting, but it's just a lot to get through, and it can be kind of overwhelming. And keeping a neutral voice through all of that is incredibly, incredibly draining. Now, with all that out of the way, we can begin to discuss the facts of the case, starting with the parties involved, the timeline of events leading up to the lawsuit, and what has already transpired in the lawsuit itself. On to the case. First, we must identify the plaintiff in this case, who is the person bringing charges against the other parties in the case. Do not confuse the plaintiff with a prosecutor or prosecution. A prosecutor is typically an elected or appointed official that handles criminal cases. If someone is being put in jail, it's because a suspect was named in a criminal investigation and a prosecutor used available evidence to put them behind bars. Plaintiffs bring grievances to the court in civil cases, which are largely financial in nature and do not threaten jail time of any sorts. Since this is a civil case, no one is going to jail, at least as far as I'm aware. The plaintiff in this case is Victor Mignogna himself, a voice actor in the anime community best known for his roles as Edward Elric in Fullmetal Alchemist, Broly in the Dragon Ball series, and Crow from the Rooster Teeth show RWBY. He has brought this case forward because he feels he has been defamed openly and publicly, meaning his reputation has been tarnished by statements made by the defendants. Additionally, he's suing for civil conspiracy between the defendants, which in this circumstance is an agreement between two or more parties to deprive a third party of legal rights. Finally, he is suing for tortious interference, which is interference in business negotiations and dealings, primarily in relation to a number of contracts he claims were severed between himself and convention owners as a result of both the defamation and the direct intervention of at least one of, if not all of, the defendants. Vic is asking for approximately $1 million in damages from each defendant through the combined charges. Now just know that when you ask for money in the courts, you're not typically going to get all of it. So really what he's asking for is a much smaller amount, but you overstate your charge, and the court will assume, will apply the what it determines to be a reasonable amount of fees to whoever loses the case. So that don't take that he's expecting $1 million from Monica Rial. He's not. The first defendant in this case, that is the first party being sued in this case, is Funimation Productions LLC. Funimation is a company that dubs and distributes content foreign to American markets, primarily Japanese animation, and was until recently a long-term employer of Vic. The second defendant is Jamie Marchi, a fellow voice actor to Vic and former Channel Awesome personality known for a number of roles, the most familiar to me being Ayami Kajo from Shimonetta, Himari from Interview with the Monster Girls, and Lucola, or Quetzalcoatl, from Dragon Maid. The third defendant is Monica Rial, and fellow voice actor to Vic, best known for her roles as Bulma in the new Dragon Ball series, Froppy from My Hero Academia, and Tanya von Dergeshov from Yojo Senki, or Saga of Tanya the Evil. The final defendant is Ronald Toye, a financial broker, mostly known for being the fiancé of Monica Rial. That's about all he has to him, and yet he's probably in the worst position of anyone in this lawsuit. But we'll get to that eventually. That's really far down the line. There are a number of parties involved in this case beyond just those 5, and they will be mentioned when the time is relevant. These 5 are simply the most core to keep in mind while reviewing the facts of the case. So, before we even get to any of the facts of the case, let's look at the timeline of how this case came to be, and that's what this first video is going to be mostly about. It's going to be, how did we get from one instance of defamation, or one instance of someone calling Vic out, depending on how you view it, how did we get from one instance to the lawsuit to where the lawsuit is now? And that's what this is going to cover. Prior to January 16th, 2019, Vic, Jamie, and Monica all worked for Funimation and had lined up a number of appearances at fan conventions across the country. What is important to know about this is that voice actors outside of the Hollywood film industry do not make as much money from their performances. They instead rely upon convention appearances for substantial income through signing autographs, fan photographs, and guest panels. And this is fairly well known. Vic in particular was estimated by his team to have lined up about 35 to 40 appearances per year on the regular. In 2019, the plaintiff claims he already had accepted dozens of convention appearance invitations. On January 16th, 2019, the dub of the Japanese animated film Dragon Ball Super Broly released in the United States. The film starred Vic, Monica, and a number of other prominent voice actors who may become relevant later on in this case. At this time, a Twitter user by the handle Hanlea made a tweet accusing Vic of being a homophobic, rude asshole who has been creepy to underage fans, female fans, for over 10 years, and I've been screaming about this since 2010, but every year nothing changes. Shortly after this, Monica Rial liked and retweeted this tweet. On January 17th, 2019, Kaylin Saucedo, known by her alias Mars Girl, tweeted that Funimation should reconsider hiring Vic Mignogna as a voice actor in the future due to years and great volumes of sexual misconduct. In a follow-up tweet, she became the first known instance of the hashtag #KickVic, which has gone on to become the shorthand term for describing proponents of the defendants in this case, as well as the defendants themselves. Both of these tweets were liked and retweeted by Monica Rial shortly thereafter. There are several tweets after this and several accusations before this, but these 3 tweets in question are the spark for the proverbial powder keg that ignited this whole situation. Hence why I'm starting here. Shortly after this, the tweets went viral, and the plaintiff accuses one or more of the defendants of actively defaming Vic directly to anime conventions around this period. This will continue through about late February. The accusation of interference in business contracts. Roughly a week later, I believe the date is written down in some of the emails that we'll be viewing in later editions, but I did not find that when I wrote this down. But roughly a week after this, Tammy Denbo, a Sony executive, informed Vic he was being investigated for 3 allegations of sexual harassment. These allegations are as follows. One of which being an incident at a convention 6 years prior where Vic ate a jelly bean with Monica's name on it, stating he ate Monica Rial. Another being an encounter between Vic and 2 fans at a convention 3 years prior. And the final accusation being a kiss between Vic and another Funimation employee who was Vic's friend at the time. On January 18th, 2019, Phoenix Fan Fusion Convention cancelled Vic's appearance. On January 19th, 2019, Toye tweeted that Vic was a predator. Also on this day, Ranger Stop Convention cancelled Vic's appearance. January 29th, 2019, Denbo and another Sony executive informed Vic of his termination from Funimation following her investigation. On January 30th, 2019, Anime NYC and Anime Milwaukee cancel Vic's convention appearances. Also, on the 30th, a news article from Anime News Network by Lindsay Loveridge called Far From Perfect, Fans Recount Unwanted Affection from Voice Actor Vic Mignogna was released. This article covered most of the discussion started by Han, Leia, and Mars Girl's tweets, but also a number of individual stories shared anonymously about uncomfortable encounters between Vic and his fans. This article, I should note, is quite contentious because of at least one photo that was used to exemplify Vic's behavior around fans. A fan of Vic claims that the photo was stolen for use in the article and that nothing untoward or inappropriate happened before, during, or after the photos were taken. The photos have since been removed from the article, and ANN has updated an edit at the bottom of the page. However, this, along with the anonymous nature of a lot of the statements in the articles, it calls the article's veracity into question. On January 31st, 2019, Ron Toye claims to know of at least 4 assaults Vic had committed. For the sake of time, I'm no longer going to be quoting Toye unless it's directly relevant to the case at hand. The plaintiff named over 400 tweets in this defamation case from him alone. I can't feasibly read each one and keep it a reasonably lengthy video. Just know that until the actual case was filed, Toye was quite garrulous over Vic's predicament. Additionally, that day, KawaiiCon also cancelled Vic's appearance. On February 1st, 2019, the KamehamehaCon Dallas convention cancelled Vic's appearance. Unlike the other conventions, this one is important to remember. It will become a keystone in the plaintiff's case later on. So remember KamehamehaCon. On February 2nd, 2019, Ancient CityCon cancelled Vic's appearance. On February 4th, 2019, Denver Comic-Con cancelled Vic's appearance. On February 5th, 2019, Funimation informed Anime News Network of Vic's termination. Over the next 24 hours, Florida SuperCon, Raleigh SuperCon, Kamicon, and Hudson Valley Comic-Con all canceled Vic's appearances. This puts the initial tally of cancelled appearances as claimed by the plaintiff at 12, which would be between 25 to 35% of Vic's yearly convention appearances. Additionally, effective on this date, Rooster Teeth Productions severed their relationship with Vic. On February 6, 2019, Vic makes a public apology to the audience at a convention panel. Contrary to what some people think, this is not an admission of guilt to any sort of accusations, but a simple, "I am sorry people felt uncomfortable, I will handle myself better in the future" type of apology. It's, "I'm sorry you felt bad." A number of tweets were made by the 3 defendants on this day. Toye continued doubling down on the allegations against Vic, claiming that there were over 100 women making accusations against him, along with other definitive statements. Monica made her first public claim of having been sexually assaulted by Vic, which garnered her much attention from fans of Vic, who pursued her relentlessly for her evidence. Jimmy Markey came to Monica's defense, and in the course of refuting these fans of Vic, stated, "Yes, I want his head, I want his balls, I want him to feel an ounce of the pain he's caused others and then fucking choke on it. I want you to take his dick out of your ears so you can hear reality, but you know, that's just me." On February 8th, 2019, Markey tweeted Vic had assaulted her several years prior by grabbing her hair and whispering in her ear. She further claimed to hear accounts of at least half a dozen women she personally knew being victim to similar behavior. On February 11th, 2019, Funimation made a public tweet in relation to Vic's termination, stating that following an investigation, he had been replaced in a current project, and the company will no longer be engaging with Vic. Monica piggybacked on that tweet, claiming that there were multiple investigations with testimony, proof, and evidence, but also clarifying the information was classified. She also claimed to be one of a dozen men and women who participated. Later that day, Monica also claimed Vic was the legal definition of harassment. On February 19th, 2019, Monica tweeted out a post accusing Vic of having kissed her without consent and sexually harassing her, as well as treating others similarly at conventions. Also at this time, lawyer and law commentary YouTuber Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law picks up on the story and begins to cover it extensively. After seeking legal remedies, Vic retains the services of Beard Harris Bullock Christie law firm, primarily that of founding partner Ty Beard. In this time, Rekieta also creates the Vic Kicks Back GoFundMe page to support Vic's legal fund. At the time of this recording, the fund has managed to raise over $272,000. Excess funds not used in this lawsuit are to be donated to the Salvation Army Dallas Domestic Violence and Abuse Shelters. On March 20th, 2019, Rekieta reported publicly for the first time on the accused interference between Vic and his Kamea-Con appearance by the defendants. Convention owner Christopher Slatosh would later give an affidavit confirming that he had been contacted by Rial and Toye and that they had told him Vic was a sexual predator and would be criminally charged before Kamea-Con, and they urged me to breach the contract with Vic, unquote. With additional implication of a number of voice actors attendees would be cancelling their appearances if Vic were to go. Additionally, text messages between Toye and Slatosh were eventually leaked by Vic's legal team, confirming the accusation by Slatosh and the plaintiff. Toye confirmed these texts to be legitimate on Twitter and actively encouraged all evidence of this case to be made public. On March 22, 2019, Kamea-Con reinvites Vic under new contractual terms. On March 23, 2019, Monica Rial, voice actors Damas Miller, Jason Douglas, Josh Greeley, and Sarah Wiedenheft, all canceled their appearances at Kamea-Con. Technically speaking, Sarah canceled her appearance on the 25th, but I'm looping it in here for simplicity's sake. As far as we know, Slatosh has not taken any legal action against those who have cancelled, and by all appearances, has simply let them out of their contracts. I have reports that this is the case, but no direct sources I can find. Unless we see some sort of litigation in the future, consider this to be the final case on the matter. On April 11th, 2019, Horikawa Ryu, the Japanese voice actor for Vegeta in Dragon Ball Super, pulls out of attending Kamea-Con. The reason for his cancellation is still unknown and speculation varies wildly. Between April 12th and 14th, 2019, the Kamea-Con convention takes place. Vic, as per the new agreement, was given his own table detached from the rest of the convention floor. Despite this and the very public controversy, all reports indicate his table was very successful. At the same time, Monica Rial hosted her own signing session at a small comic store called Doc's Comics and Games, which would only be a few miles from the convention. In this time, Ty Beard officially sent a demand for retraction to Ron Toye to remove around 400 tweets, requiring a 20-pound box to deliver. On Thursday, April 18, 2019, Victor Mignogna and his legal team filed a complaint to the District Court of Tarrant County, Texas, seeking remediation for damages incurred thanks to defamation, tortious interference with existing contracts, tortious interference with prospective business relations, and civil conspiracy. This is where the lawsuit officially begins, and we're only halfway through April. It is currently mid-January 2020. Note, Han Leia, the instigating party, is not being sued for a number of reasons, least of which her residency in Japan, which would create an absolute headache with jurisdictional concerns. At least that's the reports that I've been getting. There's a number of reasons why, but basically she's out of reach for the effect of the lawsuit. On May 3rd, 2019, plaintiff's attorney Ty Beard sends notice of deposition to Monica Rial and Ronald Toye. For those uninformed, a deposition is a sworn legal statement in regards to an ongoing case, typically focused around the person's recounting of events. In this circumstance, Vic's legal team is informing the defense for Ron and Monica that both of them are to appear at a set date, time, and place in order to record their statements. On May 7th, 2019, the defense lodges a motion to quash the notion of a deposition for both Rial and Toye under a number of jurisdictions. This begins an extensive back and forth between the plaintiff and the defense over when, where, and how the depositions of the key witnesses are to be handled. This dispute also comes to concern confidentiality and anonymity of certain individuals who may be named during the suit, primarily accusers of Vic, who may be targeted by harassment or threats. Under instruction of the judge, confidentiality was handled on a case-by-case basis during the depositions. This was decided at a later point, for the record. I'm just logging it here because it kind of ties in what's going on. On May 13th, 2019, Monica Rial and Ronald Toye officially answered the court with their initial defense, assisted by attorney Casey Eric. On May 31st, 2019, Jamie Marchi officially answers the court with her initial defense, assisted by attorney Samuel H. Johnson of Johnson & Sparks, LLC. On June 10th, 2019, Funimation officially answers the court with their initial defense, assisted by attorney John Volney. On June 16th, 2019, the timetable to file a motion to dismiss was extended to allow the deposition of Mignogna, Toye, and Rial. This was agreed on by both parties. On June 21st, 2019, plaintiff files a motion to compel with the accusation that defendants Monica Rial and Ronald Toye have engaged in discovery abuse by refusing to release critical information asked for by the original complaint. On June 26, 2019, Monica Rial and Ron Toye add attorney J. Sean Lamoni of Wick Phillips Gould and Martin, LLP, to their legal team. Additionally, Vic Mignogna was finally deposed. On June 27, 2019, Ronald Toye was deposed. And on June 28, 2019, Monica Rial was deposed. On July 1st, 2019, following the completion of depositions, Funimation motions to dismiss the case against them outright under the Texas Citizens Participation Act, also known as the TCPA. We'll be referring to it as the TCPA from now on just because it's easier. This act is intended to stop retaliatory lawsuits that are designed to squelch free speech and free up the court system of not superfluous, but unnecessary lawsuits. The TCPA also halts discovery between the two parties, preventing either party from acquiring evidence from their opposition. On July 19, 2019, Monica Rial and Ronald Toye motioned to dismiss under the TCPA. On the same day, Jamie Marchi also files a motion to dismiss under the TCPA. Between July 26 and August 6, 2019, defendants Monica Rial, Ronald Toye, and Funimation each update their TCPA pleadings with supplementary material and evidence multiple times. On August 7, 2019, the plaintiff moves to strike, that is, remove from the official court record, these documents, citing that these updates were delivered after the required deadline for their TCPA statements. On July 29, 2019, Rial, Toye, and Funimation all respond to plaintiff's motion to strike. Do note, I'm finding it difficult to discover exactly how the court ruled on these findings, but considering what we see in the TCPA hearing, I wouldn't be surprised if these amended petitions from the defense were not stricken from the record when ultimately considered. On August 30th, 2019, the plaintiff submitted their official response to the defendant's TCPA motion to dismiss. On September 3rd, 2019, the plaintiff filed for leave to file a late response to the defendant's TCPA motion to dismiss thanks to a technical error. The affidavits of Victor Mignogna, Chuck Huber, and Christopher Slatosh were retracted due to a notary issue. On the same day, the response submitted on the 30th of August was amended with clean, new, and appropriate amendments by the three listed men. Affidavits. It was amended with clean, new, and appropriate affidavits by the three listed men. In response to this, the defendants filed a motion to strike the amendments and opposed the late response motion. A hearing is then set for September 6th to dispute all of these back-and-forth shenanigans involving the TCPA and the TCPA itself. On September 4th, 2019, An Lee Soo of Martinez Soo is added as a co-counsel for Vic Mignogna's legal team. On September 6, 2019, the TCPA hearing occurs. During this hearing, the Honorable Judge Chupp, the presiding judge of this case, dismisses Jamie Marchi from the case outright from the bench. Everyone else was required to wait until a later date to receive the judge's ruling. It should be noted that this hearing will become a key sticking point in the future, as the judge may have handled the TCPA's requirements improperly. The TCPA is supposed to be a prima facie showing, which means the plaintiff's complaints are to be taken at face value and that all evidence presented should be viewed in the light most favorable to the plaintiff in this case. However, in handling the hearing, it was handled as an evidentiary hearing, where evidence was directly challenged by opposing counsel and weighed against each other. Additionally, in relation to the disputes over updating the record for both sides, the judge stated that he was not going to rule on plaintiff's petition to update, which means that the affidavits ended up becoming a sort of Schrodinger's evidence. We know from the final ruling he didn't consider them, but this conflicts with statements he made during the hearing. Overall, this hearing was kind of a mess from everyone involved, plaintiff, defense, and the judge. On September 17th, 2019, Chupp orders all parties, including the dismissed Jamie Marchi, to mediation over the lawsuit, presumably to give the parties one last chance to settle this case outside of the courts. Around this time, Chupp also receives a number of death threats via email and Twitter. They are silly, largely anonymous, and hopefully didn't affect his decision on matters. On October 4th, 2019, the Honorable Judge Chupp renders his verdict on the TCPA. On all accounts, he grants the defendant's motion to dismiss the case. The dismissal order is only around 5 pages long and seems scant when it comes to justifying his choice to dismiss all of the defendants from the case. On October 22nd, 2019, in accordance with the rules of a successful TCPA dismissal, defendant's attorney Jason Lemoyne requests a hearing be set to discuss plaintiff's paying of reasonable attorney fees to the defendants. On October 24th, 2019, Vic Mignogna submits a notice of appeal to the court over the results of the TCPA. On October 29th, 2019, Rial and Toye motion to compel the deposition of Christopher Slatosh. The plaintiff moves to quash this motion, but is denied, and the deposition of Christopher Slatosh is set to occur no later than November 14th. On October 30th, 2019, Riel and Toye motioned to dismiss Vic's appeal on the grounds that the filing is premature, among other more standard reasons. On November 8th, 2019, a hearing occurs to dispute the number of issues in relation to the TCPA ruling. On November 11th, 2019, the results of the hearing on November 8th are revealed. The defense's motion to compel Chris Slaytosh's deposition is denied, with an option to re-urge the matter at a hearing on November 21st. This corresponds with the plaintiff's protective order of Christopher Slaytosh being granted, protecting him from deposition at current. On November 21st, 2019, there is a hearing over sanctions on the plaintiff under the TCPA dismissal rule. On November 25th, 2019, Judge Chupp renders his final judgment on the case, awarding monetary damages to the defendants. $50,000 is awarded to Funimation, with an additional $7,504 for the litigation expenses. $100,000 is awarded between Riel and Toye, with an additional $15,526.96 for their litigation expenses. $48,137.50 is awarded to Jamie Marchi, with an additional $1,873.96 for litigation expenses. All told, Vic has been ordered to pay $221,356.42 between all four defendants in this case. A further $15,000 are levied on him as punitive measures in order to prevent Vic from bringing similar actions in the future. On December 11, 2019, Riel and Toye's motion to dismiss Vic's appeal is denied. On December 26, 2019, Riel and Toye file a motion for a partial new trial or modification on the final judgment, asking for $270,963.04 in attorney's fees instead of the awarded $115,526.96. Note that there is a question of jurisdiction on this matter, as the motion was sent to the Tarrant County Court and not the Appeals Court, which accepted and is currently hearing Vic's TCPA ruling. Vic Mignogna's brief for the Appeals Court is due January 27, 2020, approximately 20 days after the filing on January 7, 2020. After filing, the defense has 20 days to file their response. After that is filed, the plaintiff may file a reply within 20 days. At maximum, this means that we'll see briefs from all parties filed by March 8, 2020. And that is where we are currently with the Vic Mignogna case. There are some misconceptions that I would like to clarify and correct that are currently out there. 1. Vic's case is not over. Right now it is in appeals, which means depending on how the appeals court rules, Judge Chupp's rulings on the TCPA has the potential to be overturned on any number of the complaints, which means any of the defendants can be brought back in, potentially, in the future. If the appeals court rejects Vic's appeal, he still has the option of appealing to the Supreme Court of Texas. This, however, isn't a guaranteed process. Only about 5% of submitted cases actually make it under the Supreme Court's purview in any given state, as the Supreme Court of each state typically can choose which cases they hear. If he appeals there, and the appeal is either rejected or the ruling is sustained, that is the absolute endgame for Vic. But until you hear the fat lady sing, it's not game over for Vic's side of the case. But for absolute clarification, Vic is nowhere near out of this yet, and the defendants are possibly still in hot water. Anyone celebrating about the TCPA success is being premature. 2. If Vic does lose on TCPA, it does not prove any of the allegations made against him are correct. The TCPA, especially with how vaguely Chupp's ruling is worded, does not directly deal with the truthfulness of the defamation in dispute. Allowing some of my commentary to bleed here for a moment, I feel like this case ending in TCPA is the worst case scenario for everyone involved. 1. For the plaintiff, it obviously means he suffers more losses in pursuit of his complaints. He's going to come out of this losing money from every pore. That and his reputation will not be restored as completely as he had hoped. While launching the suit has in some small way reinvigorated his popularity, it's not to the extent of what an exoneration through examination of evidence would provide. 2. For the defendants, it martyrs Vic. It does not prove his guilt or prove what they have to say about him was correct. They went on a technicality not because they were in the moral right. This will only serve to further inflame the already passionate defenders of Vic and further sever the fan base at strain over this case. provided people don't just hear Vic lost his case and consider the matter settled, like people have been celebrating with the TCPA. Read what I just said above about the TCPA. In my opinion, which should not carry too much weight, mind you, this case needs to make it past TCPA if either side are going to come out of this happy. If it doesn't come out of TCPA, both sides will more than likely end up miserable. With that, I've concluded my recap of the events immediately preceding and during the case. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you'll join me in the next one where I begin to present the evidence of the case as presented by defendants Funimation and Jamie Marchi. If you found this recap informative, please like this video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. For more consistent updates, you can find me on Twitter at Raymond McNeil. Additionally, if you want to contribute directly to the channel, you can always donate to my Patreon at patreon.com/CelticPhoenix. For $1 or more, you can access the Team Frostbite Discord server, the Tundra, where I, as well as many other personalities from other channels that I regularly interact with, we all interact with fans there. So if you want to join us there, please consider donating. But with all that wrapped up, thank you all once more for joining me, and I'll catch you all in the next video.